Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna. Just give me 1 minute. I'm setting up something. Let me join again.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
I think I need to somehow keep on top. Pause. Stop sharing. Okay, now I'm here. Yeah. I hope everything is set up. Let's begin. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कथामहं तदेव स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुश्रीयुतपदकमलान् श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सकलगुणान्वितं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधः कृष्णपदान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारणे वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी शुभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Reading from Prabhupāda-līlāmṛta, Volume 2, Chapter 43. Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita translation and commentary was the fruit of the Chaitanya tree. It was fully authoritative and parampara, but never merely academic or technical. Its teachings stressed that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to widely distribute devotional service should be the desire of everyone. It left no doubt about what Prabhupada expected from the members of the Krishna consciousness movement. The only purpose of the preachers of the Sankirtan movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. That is the way in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the Sankirtan movement to the world. This volume also contained one of the most important verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bharata Bhumite Haile Manushya Janma Yara Janma Sartaka Kari Kara Para Upakara. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all people. In his purport to this verse, Prabhupada explained the special piety of the Indians who were always ready to take part in the Sankirtan festival. Unfortunately, the present leaders of India were leading the people away from God, away from the distinguishing piety next life. The Indians had the special duty of educating the world in Vedic principles. Do let me know if you face some internet issues. Yeah. If all Indians had taken to this path as advised by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada wrote, India would have given a unique gift to the world and thus India would have been glorified. Moreover, it was not only the duty of the Indians but the duty of everyone to help the Krishna consciousness movement. One should know definitely that the best welfare activity for all of human society is to awaken man's God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada stayed with his disciples in Mayapur for a full week, lecturing daily and meeting with smaller groups for many hours. On the day of Gaur Purnima, he went down to the Ganges and took the sacred water on his head, while his men dove off the high bank and swam. The next day, he left for Vrindavan, where he would again meet his disciples and introduce them to the Dham. Although many of the Western devotees inexperienced in living and traveling in India were afflicted with indigestion, dysentery, and even in some cases culture shock and homesickness, they nevertheless traveled a somewhat bedraggled group from Mayapur to Calcutta to Delhi and finally to Vrindavan. Since the Vrindavan temple and guest house was still mostly a construction site, the devotees had to stay at the nearby Fogal Ashram, while Prabhupada again took up residence in his newly constructed room near the site of Krishna Balaram Mandir. The devotees would see him regularly on morning walks and during the morning Bhagavatam class, and he would also come in the evening sometimes to speak under an outdoor pavilion at Fogal Ashram. Noticing that not many devotees attended his first evening meeting in his room, Prabhupada inquired and learned that many of them were out visiting Vrindavan's famous old temples and other pilgrimage sites, while others were shopping in the bazaar and still others were sleeping. Bring them all back, Prabhupada said, annoyed. Coming to pilgrimage means to come where the sadhus are. I am here, so why is everyone going elsewhere? On hearing this, so many devotees came to Prabhupada's room that they could not all fit. Prabhupada began talking about sannyas, tapasya, austerity. The tapasvis in Vrindavan go naked, he said, even in the cold. They are determined not to take birth again for material life. He described how the living entity before birth remains cramped within the womb, a condition much like being tied by the hands and feet and thrown in the ocean. Worms within the mother's body bite the skin of the embryo and then living entities suffer. Because Maya deludes us into thinking we are happy, Prabhupada explained, we have to again enter the womb of a mother. And although in one lifetime we may be wealthy human being, in the next life we may be a bug or hog or dog. So this life is for tapasya, Prabhupada said. But we cannot execute several penances in this age. So our penance is to try to reform poor crazy persons. One should take voluntary pains for Krishna. Krishna comes to save the fallen souls. So if you help a little, he will be pleased. Krishna comes himself and he sends his devotee and he leaves books, and still we are mad for sense enjoyment. Our penance, therefore, is to try to reform the fallen souls. Prabhupada's preaching uplifted his disciples, whose duty was to preach to the citizens of many lands. They had come at Prabhupada's bidding to visit Mayapur and Vrindavan, but their real work was to save the fallen souls of the native countries, and Prabhupada's preaching filled them with determination. Later, one of the devotees told Prabhupada that dealing with devotees was sometimes more difficult than dealing with the materialist, and he mentioned a well-known problem case, a devotee named Makhan Chor. That is your penance, Prabhupada said. Your penance is to work with Makanchur. We should take anxiety. For a sane man to work with a crazy man is not pleasurable, but the service to Krishna is pleasurable. Prabhupada described how he had left his peaceful life in Vrindavan to take on so much burden and anxiety for Krishna, just as he had taken a risk by going to America in old age. So his disciples should accept whatever difficulties were required in preaching Krishna consciousness. The work is not pleasurable, Prabhupada said, but making so many devotees is pleasurable. Although the devotees had been visiting the various temples of Vrindavan, eager to imbibe the Vrindavan spirit, the real nectar came when Prabhupada, sitting in his room, spoke about Vrindavan. Vrindavan is for Paramahamsas, he said. You cannot see Vrindavan with Vishaya or material spirit. The test is how much you have conquered over eating, sleeping, and mating. Don't think you can just come to Vrindavan and become a Goswami. One who comes to Vrindavan with a middle spirit will take birth as a dog or a monkey in Vrindavan. That is his punishment. But the dogs here are also Vaishnavas. People come to Vrindavan to give up all material anxieties and family life. So one should not be afraid. He should never mind what is going to happen. There are many devotees in Vrindavan who are not disturbed by heat or cold. But another risk in Vrindavan is to meet those who talk of the gopis but are not devotees. We have to see who is a devotee by his personal behavior. If one is seeking money and vidis and women and talking of gopis, then what is his position? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never talked of the gopis publicly. The real Vrindavan is not to eat prasadam and sleep, but to follow the advice of Vrindavan Chandra, Krishna, and broadcast his message. That is his message. That is Vrindavan. Vrindavan Dham is worshipable. Don't commit an offense here. Take it as Chintamani Dham, Krishna. Narottam Das Thakur says to see Vrindavan is not possible with Vishaya. So we should take the shelter of Gaur Nitai, become cleansed of eating, sleeping, and waiting. Then you will see Vrindavan. Don't commit offenses here. There is a special influence in Vrindavan. Prabhupada said that Vrindavan's spiritual quality was such that devotional service performed here had 100 times the effect of service performed elsewhere. But an offense in Vrindavan also had 100 times the effect. Ordinary persons, therefore, were advised to visit a holy place like Vrindavan for no more than 3 days. Otherwise, they would become slack and return to their sinful activities. Better to come, Prabhupada said, before become purified and leave on the 4th day. And the worst offense to Vrindavan is to commit illicit sex here. So do not come and play hide and seek with Krishna. He sees with his eyes, the sun, and he is also in your heart. Krishna knows everything. Those who want to be devotees have to be sincere. They shouldn't play tricks because Krishna knows everything. Be sincere with Krishna and his representative. Preach the gospel of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Become a spiritual master. After his evening lecture, Prabhupada mentioned how some of the Sahajiyas had walked out during his lecture. They are so advanced, he said, that they want to hear only of the embracing and kissing of Radha and Rani and Krishna. They take my talks as ordinary. Prabhupada explained that his process of lecturing was to speak on only one verse per lecture, but that speaking was the same as Krishna speaking. He said that his own Guru Maharaj had lectured for 3 months on the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, and for that he had gained great respect. Prabhupada learned one day that one of his disciples had left the company of ISKCON devotees to live among the Babajis at Radhakund. Prabhupada became angry and sent for the boy to come immediately. When the boy arrived, Prabhupada went out to see him. Dressed in only a dhoti, Prabhupada spoke sternly to his disciple, saying that the monkeys of Vrindavan also live simply, but are interested only in eating and sex. Don't become a monkey, Prabhupada said. Trembling, he spoke. Why don't you come and live with me? The boy replied, the Babajis have given me some facility to chant. You come with me, Prabhupada explained. I will give you facility, but don't become a monkey. The boy surrendered before Prabhupada's compassionate concern. Prabhupada heard from his disciples living in Vrindavan that some of the local Goswamis had a complaint about him. They had read an article published in Back to Godhead and considered it insulting. The article written by Prabhupada's disciple Hayagriva contained a statement that Goswamis in Vrindavan who misbehaved would become hogs and monkeys in Vrindavan in their next life. Prabhupada replied that the statement was accurate. The article, he said, had not specifically referred to the present Goswamis but to any Goswamis who lived sinfully in Vrindavan. This was not merely an opinion but was authoritative conclusion of the original Goswamis of Vrindavan. Although Yamuna Dasi lived in Vrindavan with her husband Gurudas, Prabhupada rarely saw her. So one day he sent for her and inquired why she was not coming to hear him and serve him. Yamuna admitted that she was afraid because Prabhupada seemed to be in a chastising mood of late. She was referring to Prabhupada's insistence and pushing to get Vrindavan temple built. Prabhupada said that only by his pushing was the temple being built, but Yamuna again confessed her fear of Prabhupada's anger. You may be afraid of your spiritual master, Prabhupada said, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't come and see him. He then narrated the story of how Lord Balaram had once forced the river Yamuna to come before him. As he spoke, all the devotees present became aware that Prabhupada was not only telling the Leela of the Lord Balaram frightening the river Yamuna, but he was also speaking indirectly about his disciple Yamuna. Absorbed in the pastimes of Lord Balaram, Prabhupada described how the Lord, intoxicated from drinking honey, had threatened the river Yamuna, forcing her to come. But when the Yamuna did not come, Lord Balaram had cut into the earth with his plow, forcing her to flow to him. In this way, Prabhupada said, I will drag you to come and see me. Yamuna Dasi agreed to stop her foolish reluctance and come and cook for her spiritual master. Although the afternoons were warm in Vrindavan, the early mornings were chilly. Dressed in a sweater, a wool chadar, and a fuzzy wool cap that buttoned under his chin, Prabhupada led his disciples on a pre-dawn walk along Chatikara Road, with the ISKCON leaders and sannyasis staying close to catch his words. He walked and talked in Vrindavan. His walks were so long that most of the devotees became tired, and some joked that Prabhupada was going to walk all the way back to Delhi. When the sun rose gradually, the air would begin to warm. Some of the devotees had expected that in Vrindavan, Prabhupada would talk more about the places of Krishna's pastimes and about Krishna and the gopis, and that Prabhupada himself would want to see the places of Krishna's pastimes. But Prabhupada seemed far more concerned to hear of the preaching of his disciples or to discuss the construction of Krishna Balaram Mandir. Often, when devotees raised the topic of Vrindavan, Prabhupada would criticize the cheating of certain Vrindavan Babajis and the corruption within Vrindavan. Or he would speak of special vision required before one can properly see Vrindavan. He said Vrindavan was wherever a pure devotee lived, and he stressed that the devotee's main business was to go out of Vrindavan and preach. As they walked along the road, the main traffic was pedestrians, workers carrying milk on bicycles, or men riding bullock carts. Only occasionally an automobile would speed by, its horn honking. Almost every person who approached would respectfully greet Prabhupada with Jai Radhe or Hare Krishna, or they would hold up their hands or bow their heads and say Namaste. One young man driving a bicycle rickshaw approached from the opposite direction, and just before reaching Prabhupada stopped his rickshaw, got down, stepped out of his shoes, and prostrated himself on the road. Prabhupada smiled and said, Very good boy. Prabhupada paused. This is Vrindavan, he said. The simple habit of the ordinary people in Vrindavan is to offer respect to a saintly person, uh, was to Prabhupada an expression of Vrindavan's essence. Vrindavan was one of the few remaining places in India where even a common man would chant the name of Radharani and Krishna as he passed by on the road. To fully understand this extraordinary phenomenon was to understand Vrindavan. One devotee asked Prabhupada that if so many residents of Vrindavan were fallen souls, then what was the meaning of the statement that to be born in Vrindavan was to be liberated? It says in Krishna book, the devotee said that people in Vrindavan don't need a spiritual master. Krishna is their spiritual master. Yes, Prabhupada replied, they have an excellent spiritual master, but one may have a spiritual master and not obey him. Then what is his position? So they are fallen who do nonsense things in Vrindavan. But their fortune is also there, that they are born in Vrindavan. But they misuse that fortune. The land was very dry. Prabhupada said Vrindavan was becoming like a desert and would become more so in the future. He said this was because of impiety. In the West, he said, I see in America, Germany, there is so much green, but not here. The devotees then questioned Prabhupada, wasn't the West more impious than Vrindavan? Yes, Prabhupada said, I came to you in the West and you did not know anything about Krishna. Did not even know that these things were bad, meat eating and illicit sex. But when I told you to stop, you did it. But this is Krishna's land, Vrindavan, and they are doing these things here. Therefore, it is even worse, and they are being punished directly by Krishna. Prabhupada's morning walks in Vrindavan were as exciting and enlightening as his formal lectures. On two consecutive morning walks, he outlined a comprehensive plan for starting an ISKCON Varnashrama college. Bhagavad Gita explains how society should be divided into four orders according to a person's nature and occupation. Prabhupada said that although the members of the Krishna consciousness movement were above the social divisions, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, they should teach others by acting perfectly within these divisions. Not everyone would become a Brahman, but everyone could attain the same perfection by doing his particular duty for the pleasure of Krishna. We will teach military arts, said Prabhupada to amazement of his disciples. Soldiers will wear tilak and march, saying Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. They can march with military band and fight. To Prabhupada, establishing Varnashrama Dharma did not seem difficult. ISKCON should begin by starting a college based on the Varnashrama conception. There should be no unemployment. Prabhupada said, we will say, why are you sitting idly? Come onto the field. Take this plow. Take this bull. Oh, go on working. Why are you sitting idly? This is Krishna consciousness movement. Nobody should be allowed to sit down and sleep. They must find out some employment, either work as a Brahmana or as a Kshatriya or as a Vaishya. Why should there be unemployment? Just as this body is working, that means the leg is working, the hand, the brain, the belly. So why should there be unemployment? You stop this unemployment. You will see the whole world is peaceful. There will be no complaint. There will be happiness, happily chanting Hare Krishna, just like this field here. No one is working it. They have all gone to the cities to work in the factory. It is a condemned civilization. In a morning walk near the end of the Vrindavan festival, one of the devotees mentioned that the festival was almost over and that devotees would be going back to their centers. Yes, said Prabhupada, and he stopped walking. Yes, that is our real business, to go and preach. As the devotees were making travel arrangements for Delhi and onward, Giriraj arrived in Vrindavan with upsetting news for Bombay. The municipality of Bombay had denied them permission to begin construction of a temple. According to Giriraj, two permissions were required: permission to build according to rules and regulations, and no objection certificate from the police commissioner. In issuing the no objection certificate, the police must consider 2 points: whether the temple would create a traffic problem and whether the presence of a temple would cause community or religious tensions. The municipality had been delaying their permission, saying they first required in an NOC from the police, and the police had been saying that they needed the sanction of the municipality before they would consider giving the NOC. Giriraj had been pursuing this bureaucratic matter, but now a commissioner from the police had written a letter flatly refusing to give an NOC. According to the commissioner, the kirtana in the temple would produce a nuisance. The reports from Giriraj deeply disturbed Srila Prabhupada. You should immediately object, he told Giriraj on his walk the next morning, that the government is completely unqualified. The pure devotees are always engaged in kirtan, and the government calls it a nuisance. He could at least be a gentleman and say that the sound should not be amplified while people are trying to take rest. But instead, he has said that kirtan is simply a nuisance. Prabhupada said that there were many learned persons in Bombay and they also would not stand for this judgment. You have to organize all the Vaishnavas. Prabhupada continued. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. One has to chant Krishna always. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Kirtaneya Sadahari. And this rascal is saying bhajana is nuisance. It is not possible to invoke an agitation against this. What right has he got to say nuisance? He could have spoken in sweet language that the bhajan may be very good for the devotees, but it creates disturbance to the others. Therefore, we cannot allow. Say like this, but they cannot stop bhajan. But his remark is that the bhajan is nuisance. Chanting Hare Krishna is the culture of India. We must make propaganda and organize kirtan parties and fight this. One of the GBC men proposed that instead of going back to the west, some of the devotees go to Bombay and hold massive protest. At first, Prabhupada approved the spirit, likening it to the Lord Chaitanya's protest against the Khazi, who had stopped the Sankirtan movement in Navadvip. But on reflecting, he decided it would not be wise to fight with the government. The devotees could not hope to win such a fight, nor would the people appreciate it. Prabhupada suggested that devotees hold massive kirtan programs and preach positively to the people of Bombay, convincing them of the values of Krishna consciousness. When the people of Bombay are convinced of the importance of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, they will see the temple is built. In an urgent mood, Srila Prabhupada left Vrindavan for Bombay. His last instruction to Gurudas and others in Vrindavan: an ideal Goswami should remain here to challenge any false Goswamis. But if you also become false, then you cannot challenge. Bombay, March 20, 1974. Disciples and ISKCON life members continued to discuss with Srila Prabhupada about confronting the police commissioner's refusal to grant ISKCON permission to build a temple at Hare Krishna land. Ironically, ISKCON's property was bordered on one side by a large cinema hall, and every evening, both before and after the movie, um, a long line of traffic would form. The honking horns and the hundreds of pedestrians coming and going created much noise and congestion. If the neighborhood and government could tolerate a cinema, then how, without prejudice, would they call the Krishna Kirtans as a nuisance? Although addressing the specific issue of government permission, Srila Prabhupada also preached on the greater principle of how governments in Kali Yuga restrict religious life. The government policy, he said, is that religion is an opiate of the people. They think religion is just a sentiment. They want to open slaughterhouses and kill these mischief, loitering cows. Their conclusion is that religion has no value. Therefore, their decision is to not encourage these temples and this bhajan. From their point of view, it is useless. Some of Prabhupada's Bombay friends suggested to work through the Jan Sangha, Janasangha political party, which supported Hinduism and thus form a strong political coalition. But Srila Prabhupada was more concerned to use this opportunity for preaching. I suggest that we make vigorous propaganda, he said. Hold meetings in big halls so that the public may understand at least that this movement is very important. Let there be advertisements that we will speak on different subject matters, and then I will come and speak. In that meeting, make a nice gentleman the president, create public opinion so that they will come and sign. Yes, here must be one temple. We will prove from Shastric evidence. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam Jana Sukritino Arjuna. This word bhajana from bhajante is used with reference to very pious men, Sukritina. The opposite kind of man is Dushkritina, the miscreant. So bhajan is for the pious man, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita is held in great estimation all over the world, and yet he has accused bhajan as nuisance. How rascal and ignorant! We have to make it clear that bhajan is so important. Bhagavad Gita is meant for solution of all material problems, but the people of India are not accepting it. My disciples can also speak and say, "You please come with us. We are foreigners, but we know Krishna is not for this or that. So, why are you Indians lacking? You accept your culture. We have taken to Krishna, and Krishna says that simply by Kirtan, one becomes free from all contamination. So, why not join us with us? What is the wrong there? It is stated in your Shastra, and we have adopted it, and we are feeling better. So why are you so callous? You educated youth and gentlemen. This kind of propaganda has to be made. Srila Prabhupada had abandoned the idea of direct political agitation, but he continued to speak against the police commissioner's decision and to deliberate on overcoming it. He considered the matter from all possible angles, pros and cons. At one point, he said that if they could not get sanction to build a temple, then they should build a hotel. I am trying to get sanction. He said, if you don't give permission, then hotel. Build a hotel in front and a temple in the rear, suggested Tamal Krishna. Yes, Prabhupada replied. And he instructed his men further on dealing with opposition. As with the struggle to acquire the land, the present struggle also threatened to become a long legal battle. Prabhupada remained always transcendental, however, even while fighting. and he maintained his normal activities in Bombay, enjoying the mild tropical climate. Although ISKCON owned a number of tenement buildings on the Juhu land, the devotees had not been able to use a single one since all were occupied. But recently, when tenants had vacated one of the apartments, the devotees had prepared it for Prabhupada. It was a modest place, two small rooms with a little kitchen. But now, for the first time, Prabhupada had his own residence at Hare Krishna land. Prabhupada liked to sit on the narrow veranda outside his apartment and take his massage in the sun, surveying the Juhu land with its many tall coconut trees, their long palm leaves rustling pleasantly in the breeze. Prabhupada said, Hare Krishna land was a paradise. The devotees were happy. One day during his massage, Prabhupada saw that the contractors whom he had allowed to come and take coconuts for a set price were also taking away the leaves to sell in the marketplace. Leaping to his feet, Prabhupada called from the veranda, Chaitya Guru. Soon the devotee in charge of grounds management appeared before Prabhupada. I cannot close my eyes, Prabhupada said. No one else sees these things. You are being cheated. Every morning, several Indian gentlemen would join Prabhupada as he walked along Juhu Beach. Whenever Prabhupada would criticize so-called great politicians and spiritual leaders of India, exposing their poor understanding of Bhagavad Gita, these men would become disturbed. Similarly, Prabhupada's disciples became disturbed to hear these men argue with Prabhupada. One day, when Prabhupada criticized a favorite hero, a certain doctor argued back, criticizing Prabhupada's statement that the absolute truth was Krishna, the supreme person of Godhead. The doctor and others asserted that the absolute truth was many things and that ultimately everything was one. The devotee could barely restrain themselves, but still Prabhupada always treated them, these men, as his friends. Early the next morning in his room, however, Prabhupada told his disciples that these men were actually Mayavadis. We will now have a program, he said, where will where we will walk on the beach, but we will only chant Hare Krishna. If they want to talk, we will just chant, and we will all chant only. If they wish to, they can walk with us. Prabhupada, a disciple said, they will be restless if we do that. Even if they don't chant, said Prabhupada, if they only hear, it will be beneficial for them. Mayavad philosophy is very dangerous. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that whoever hears it, he who hears it is doomed. A devotee asked why a Mayavadi would disguise himself as a Krishna Bhakta. They do it, Prabhupada said, to get popular reception for being liberal to all. But if a woman says that she is very liberal and accepts any man, that may seem to be liberal proposal, but it is not good. We will read the Krishna book on the walk. Prabhupada said, I am walking with my disciples. If these men like, they can join and hear. But if they want to ask questions, they must accept the Guru's answer without argument. Is that all right? The next morning, although the usual challengers did not join the walk, Prabhupada had Giriraj read aloud from Krishna book. Suddenly, Prabhupada sighted the familiar group of speculators approaching from the opposite direction. But as they drew closer, they purposefully turned aside so as to avoid Prabhupada. One of them came over, however, and represented the entire group, informed Prabhupada they were not going to walk with him anymore. They had met and decided that their conversations with him created too much argument and criticism. India has many saints, the man added. I am the policeman, Prabhupada said, and I have to catch the thief. After a few days, the same group rejoined Prabhupada on his walk, and the discussions continued as before. Some of Prabhupada's disciples remained disturbed, but Prabhupada was jolly, correcting his friends like an older brother, teaching them pure Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada would take a breakfast of fruits and nuts. Around 11 a.m., he would sit on the veranda in his gamcha while his servant massaged him with mustard oil. During the massage, Prabhupada would often speak with one or two of his Bombay devotees, giving them pertinent instructions. After lunch, he would rest an hour or two, and on rising, take a glass of fresh coconut water or sugarcane juice. In the evening, he would meet guests and then around at 10 p.m. take rest. At 1 a.m., he would rise and sit at his desk beneath a tent-like covering of mosquito netting and dictate his translations and purports to Chaitanya Charitamrita until the time of his morning walk. Several times a day, Prabhupada would call for Giriraj and other Bombay managers to confer on the latest strategy in securing permission to build the temple. When Prabhupada's Bombay friends would visit, they would often find him on the roof of the tenement, sitting on white cotton sheeting and leaning on white bolsters, preaching the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita by the hour. He would ask his visitors to help him solidly establish Krishna consciousness in Bombay. One day, during the massage, Prabhupada confided to his servant, "Most men are retired at my age. I do not want to manage anymore. I just want to do some writing." Prabhupada asked if there was some place in the world he could go for 6 months, a place where he would be all alone, where no one would come to disturb him, and where he would not get any mail. Prabhupada's servant suggested Tehran. Prabhupada considered it, then suggested New Vrindavan. He spoke of Mahatma Gandhi, who could not even sleep at night because people were always after him, even though he traveled incognito. That very day, a letter came from Bhagavan in Paris, inviting Prabhupada to tour his ISKCON centers in Europe. Immediately, Prabhupada was enlivened at this invitation. He said he would go. But later today, his servant said, "You wanted to go away and be alone." Prabhupada laughed. "That will not be possible for me in this lifetime. Better I keep traveling and die on the battlefield. For a warrior, it is glorious to die on the battlefield, is it not?" Traveling around the world once or twice a year had become Prabhupada's routine. In describing his own spiritual master, he had written, "Hindus are not allowed to cross the ocean, but you send your devotees overseas to preach." The injunction for Hindus not to cross the ocean was to protect them from leaving the pious land of India, since so many Indians gave up their culture when they went abroad. When Prabhupada had been a small child, one of his uncles had suggested he one day go to London and become a lawyer. But Prabhupada's father had protested. He did not want his son to be exposed to the sinful ways of the West. Years later, Prabhupada had gone to London as a preacher to change the ways of sinful. For this reason, the Vaishnava should travel. Just before starting his European tour, Prabhupada explained to several devotees in his room that they also should travel and preach. He said they should do so while they were young, and then when they were old and matured in Krishna consciousness, they could go to Mayapur, retire, and simply chant Hare Krishna. Of course, for myself, Prabhupada added, I am not so mature. The devotees were silent a moment, but then one ventured, "But Srila Prabhupada, if you say that you are not matured, then how can we ever think that we are old or mature enough to retire?" Prabhupada smiled and said that they would have to decide for themselves, but he was not mature enough. Tamal Krishna Goswami said, "Then we also will never become so mature that we can retire." April 18th. Before going to Europe, Prabhupada responded to an invitation from his devotees in South India to attend a 3-day Pandal festival in Hyderabad. No sooner did he arrive at the airport in Hyderabad, however, than a group of reporters asked him for a press conference. Prabhupada consented, and a reporter opened with a technical philosophical question inquiring whether Prabhupada's philosophy was Advaita or Dvaita. South India was so steeped in the ancient philosophical debate between the Vaishnavas and Shankarites that here an ordinary news reporter was concerned with comparative philosophies. Prabhupada scoffed at the question. What is the point of discussing such things? He challenged. Whether one is Dvaita or Advaita, Krishna says, Annad bhavati bhutani. Anna means grains. The people have no grains. Grains are produced from the rains, and rains from sacrifice. So perform sacrifice. You have to divide the society into 4 orders. You may be Dvaita or Advaita, but you need grains. Prabhupada's secretary wrote to Bhagavan in Paris, keeping him informed of Prabhupada's location and schedule. You can contact us here until the 29th or 30th of April, after which we will be back in Bombay. Your idea for festivals sounds nice. Here, they had a 3-day pandal. Last night, about 1,000 people came, sat very silently through his whole lecture, and then pressed forward to receive blessings from Srila Prabhupada. Devotees had the deities on stage and a Vyasasan and a lot of prasadam for the guests. April 25, from Hyderabad, Srila Prabhupada flew to Tirupati. There in mountainous Tirumala stands the richest temple in India, where a deity of Vishnu known as Balaji resides. The temple managers respectfully welcomed Srila Prabhupada and his party, providing them with 2 cottages on the mountainside. According to the temple policy, people usually have to wait in a long line before seeing the deity, since 15,000 people enter the temple daily, and they are given only a brief darshan. Non-Hindus are usually not allowed. But Srila Prabhupada and his disciples received the special honor of a private darshan of Balaji. At the end of a long inner sanctum, its entrance guarded by two large figures of Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers of Vaikunta, the deity was enthroned. The only light in the inner sanctum came from flaming torches affixed to the walls or held by the pujaris. When approaching the deity in the hallway, many pilgrims would traditionally call out Govinda, but as Prabhupada entered, he sang Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Later, in his cottage, Prabhupada remarked that the millions of people going to see Balaji were proof that the masses are still attracted to God, despite being sought for alleviating material distress or for getting money. Still, they called out the holy name Govinda. A devotee asked Prabhupada why the deity was called Balaji. Balaji, Prabhupada said, means child. Krishna as the cowherd boy, not in his Vaikunta aspect. Prabhupada was pleased to stay in the cottage and take darshan deity's prasadam. He suggested that in New Vrindavan they build cottages like this and that ISKCON build temples like the temple of Balaji with its gold dome and extensive facility for visitors. One day, an official of Tirupati temple, while visiting Prabhupada, mentioned that their collection was about 40 lakh of rupee per month. Prabhupada inquired how the temple's income was being spent. When the priest indicated that most of the money went for renovation of the buildings, Prabhupada replied that temple renovation was good, but propagating the message of Krishna all over the world was better. Balaji is Krishna. Prabhupada said his message should be spread. He descended as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us. Prabhupada told the priest of how so many old churches in in London, were not being used. How will the spirit of temple be maintained without preaching? Asked. The priest then boasted that they were building another temple and installing Panchopasana, 5 deities recommended for worship by the impersonalist Shankara Acharya. Prabhupada was surprised. Your leader is Ramanuja, he said. He never recommended Panchopasana. For the 2 days in Tirupati, Prabhupada went 3 or 4 times daily to see the darshan of deity of Balaji. And whenever he went, the pujaris would clear the inner sanctum of all other visitors and allow him a private darshan for as long as he liked, standing in the torchlight before the mystical bejeweled form of Balaji. Bombay, April 29th. Although in a few days Prabhupada would be leaving for Rome, a problem now faced him and the management of India of his Indian project. Tamal Krishna Goswami was requested that Prabhupada allow him to go to America. After 4 years of management in India, he was eager to try a different kind of preaching. His godbrother friend Vishnujana Swami had pleased Prabhupada with his bus touring in America and had convinced Tamal Krishna that this was most opportune preaching. Srila Prabhupada had accepted the proposal, although reluctantly. Certainly, it would be good for the preaching in America and it would be good for the face with the fact that the only manager of ISKCON in India. report of spending and accounts in Mayapur, concerned that all money he handled very carefully and spent exactly for the purpose it was intended. He had returned to Jayapataka Swami. Money for the land must be spent for land purpose. If I send money for constructing of a kitchen, it must be spent for that. Also, if you purchase land, it must be properly utilized. And if you actually produce some grains and vegetables, then where is the necessity for further money for maintenance? For maintenance, we require 100 rupees per head without any risk for purchasing land and cultivating the same. I understand there are only 20 men there at present, so at most 2000 rupees is necessary for maintenance. I am not competent to understand everything concerning what you plan to do, but this is my rough estimate. You have tried to explain by long letter which I have not gone through it. In the meantime, go on the above principle. Money spent must be used for that purpose intended. That will keep it very clear. From a previous letter from Srila Prabhupada, Bhavananda and Jayapataka had become a little despondent, thinking that they may have displeased their spiritual master. But Prabhupada reassured them, I know you are all working hard and sincerely. I have no business to criticize, but as head of institution or your spiritual master, it is my duty to find out your faults. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself as a faulty before his spiritual master. To remain faulty before the spiritual master is a good qualification, so he is subjected to rectification. But if one thinks he is all perfect, then there is no scope for rectification. Don't be sorry, but I find fault. Sorry, when I find fault. That is my primary duty. Chanakya Pandit says one must find fault with disciples and sons. It is good for them. Prabhupada also scrutinized the finances in Vrindavan, where Gurudas was president and Tejas in Delhi was financial supervisor. Reviewing Teja's latest request, Prabhupada wrote back, I am enclosing the list of checks requested by you by registered post, except I am sending one check for rupees 3000 for DT cloths to be paid to the tailor Lalit Prasad of Vrindavan. DT paraphernalia is supposed to be collected separately by Gurudas and Yamuna, not come out of the construction fund as you have requested. Besides, I have advised Gurudas not to pay any tailor but to make clothes by our own devotees for the deities. Prabhupada also found a serious inconsistency in the accounting, which he pointed out to Tejas for correction. According to my checkbook, after writing the last check of rupees 17, 1,76,000, there is a balance of only 18,745.81, but you are indicating a balance of rupees 10 lakh, 1 lakh, 313, 64 paisa. Where is the difference? Send me a complete statement of the account. Gurudas and Tejas had assured that Prabhupada that the Krishna Balaram Mandir would be ready to open by July 1974. Prabhupada designed the invitation card himself and asked that they be printed and sent to important persons. The founder Acharya and the members of International Society of for Krishna Consciousness request the pleasure of Mr. and Mrs. Company to visit the installation ceremony of Krishna Balram temple from August 8 to 10 and accept prasadam. Gurudas Adhikari, local president, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, founder Acharya, Shurabhi Das Adhikari, secretary. With only 3 months left, Prabhupada's plan were to travel from May through July. Giving permission for transferring funds from Delhi to Vrindavan, he left. He would return in 3 months for the grand opening. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thanks for joining. And I don't know. A second. Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So many aspects of visiting Vrindavan, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. How can it be a coincidence? It's only planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, in this chapter, I think there is this statement from one of the Tirupati pujaris that they are constructing some Panchopasana.
Yeah.
Is it there in Tirupati, Prabhuji?
Yeah, could be, right? Panchopasana is typically having the deities of Ganesh, deities of Durga, deities of Shiva.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Panchopasana. So
Okay. Okay.
the 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 lowest. mm, Yeah, and also Surya Bhagavan. Yeah. So the first would be Devi. Then comes Ganesh. Then comes no, I don't know. I don't remember the order now. There is uh, Durga or Mother Nature. So it is all different levels of faith, and the first level or primitive level of faith is faith of fear, fearing, oh, if I don't worship the Lord, then I will be punished. Uh, that is why if we see in the tribes, we see that a lot of tribes they have a lot of Shakti, right? They want to worship Shakti avatars, like where there is Kali, there is uh, you can see the whole rock is cut into it or mud made such murtis which are very looking very fearful, and people who have faith that, oh, if she is pacified then everything goes smooth in my life. That is a very basic faith. Then the next faith is about um, being very thankful for the Lord. Oh Lord, you have given everything. And they see sun, Surya Narayan. They see here because of sun, everything is maintained, everything is sterilized, everything is purified, everything is energized. So we are very thankful to that Lord. The second worship is to Surya Narayan. The third is that, okay, once now I'm very thankful, once I am being protected by mother, the next one level is, oh, now what about my desires? I may have some desires for material enjoyment or material success, material comfort, and all those things. Then they approach whom? Ganesh. Yeah. He will remove all the obstacles, he will give all the facilities, and that is the reason the third level of faith is more like you give me and I want to give you something. So they want to offer. So this is the third. Then the fourth one comes where we understand that the Lord is transcendental, where we understand, okay, yeah, forgot. Then there is this mode of worshipping the Lord who is omnipresent and not expecting and leading a very simple, understanding our own spiritual identity. So that is what is worshipping Lord Shiva. And then the fourth one, or for the fifth one, is understanding that the cause of all causes, and the one is ultimately we have to have faith to do what? That we are eternal servants of the Lord, that we have to grant pleasure to the Lord. Why? Because Krishna is who? Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Akhila Rasamrita Murti means one who is able to exchange melos. Akhila Rasamrita, all kind of melos. One can exchange. So Lord is not just like this, like this, but actually Lord is very reciprocal. Yeah. So which means when we please him, then we are pleased. So that understanding is the topmost. Or even if where we see Srimad Radharani says, right? Um, Vidahatu lampato matprananatasta sa evana para. So one can understand to that point that, oh, even if the Lord is treating me like however he wants, sometimes very softly, sometimes very pleasantly, and sometimes very harshly, sometimes where we already saw how Prabhupada is sometimes very strong on his disciples, right? Prabhupada is saying, yeah, to rectify. So Krishna uh, also deals sometimes, and sometimes he enjoys, in all these dealings. So that is a topmost faith. I don't know, Dinath Prabhu, was it you who asked?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So in that way, this is what is called Panchopashana, and
Okay.
accordingly the deities are worshipped. And but for us, because we come from Indian background, we see that everyone is equal. So we see how, okay, there is a Murti of Shiva, there is Murti
Yeah.
of Durga, there is Murti of Surya Narayan, and we treat everyone equally. Equality, right? I think our constitution is also saying equality, but we
Yeah.
don't know where to apply the equality. Just like in our body, right? Yeah, equality. If we say, okay, let's eat with our stomach, no, we have to eat still with our mouth. So anyway,
Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah, and yeah, then yeah, and coming back to your question, I don't know where the deities are installed. Maybe I have to recollect, or if someone already knows, we have here Satish Prabhu, who would have toured Tirumala many times. Maybe he knows where is Lord Shiva, Lord Surya, Narayan installation. Or maybe here it's told about there is a different temple constructed, right? It might be somewhere else. I don't
Hare
know.
Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji. I think within the Balaji temple it is not there, but must be somewhere else. Also in in all the Sri Sampradaya temples, right, Prabhuji, they have Lord Ganesha's statue, and they say and they call him as Tumbike Alvar, meaning like the trunk, the elephant's trunk
Yeah,
is called Tumbike, and they call him as Tumbike Alvar. So
yeah. But actually, even I don't know from where that is coming, but at least Vaishnavas accept that Ganesh is not the Ganesh, but he is actually Vishwaksena. Vishwaksena. It is still the same Vaishnava, same Vishnu expansion as Vishwaksena. So, for example, when we are saying Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam, yeah. So when we are offering in this, we see that we think we are offering it to Ganesh, right? Actually, it is indeed offering to Vishwaksena. Yeah, these prayers. Yeah. So maybe a Tamil version is something what you said, but
okay, Prabhuji. It was a new thing for me, Prabhuji.
yeah, you can search for Vishwaksena, and
Mm.
then you can also see in one of the Brahma Samhitas we understand. Yeah, who is Ganesh? Who is always getting the strength? From where is he getting the strength? It is by offering Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He is getting, so indirectly whatever all the strength that we see that other faiths are able to suffice or provide, it is indeed getting from whom? Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. Anything else anyone want to add? What did you find interesting?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes,
Prabhu, but
Prabhu.
yeah, it was mentioned that it was suggested by Adi Shankaracharya, but he was not a believer of deity worship. Yeah.
No, he is a believer of deity worship, but we have this Lord in the form of what? In the form of Linga. uh, and then also there is also Shakti. Yeah, so where there are so many temples even now. This Shiva, Shankara Mutt. Yeah, Shankar Mutt have. There is also Durga worship. There is also Gayatri. All personal form only. It's not impersonal form.
Yes, Prabhuji. Call us Stringeri Mat, Prabhuji. That's established by Adi Shankaracharya.
There are multiple mutts. Kanchi Kamakoti mutt is what is from Adi Shankaracharya.
Yes, Prabhuji. Very blissful place
Yeah.
where Kamakshi, goddess Kamakshi is there.
Yeah.
But Prabhuji, as Adiraj Prabhu said, I mean, Adi Shankaracharya primarily focused his preachings on Advait philosophy, na Prabhuji. It is like Brahman, Atman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think in that process, he also suggested deity worship like Shiva, Ganesh.
Exact. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what is also, yeah. If you see why then South India so many temples are there,
Mm.
and all the temples are filled with a lot of deity forms, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So the philosophy on one side is telling about that Lord is in everywhere and He's also in that.
Mm.
One, if there is also a whole procedure, na, there is all this what do we call? I forgot this. Nigamas, yeah, Anushtans. Everything is there. How to bring prana pratisthapana into the deity form. Everything is there. Even Adi Shankaracharya, when he went to Himalayas, also, yeah, while he's going, he established so many temples. What?
Also, Prabhuji,
And the focus is like ultimately by process of devotion you can merge into the Lord. Yeah. So for that you are having the temple, right? So you are worshipping, you are meditating, absorbing, and then by through this process we see that by this process one can merge, or one can realize that he is also God, or one can realize he is God, not he is also God. Yeah. Satish Prabhu.
yes, Prabhuji, I was trying to deny Prabhu this Bhaja Govindam. It's a beautiful, philosophy song. You can hear that, Prabhuji. I think, I don't know if that was towards the end of his stay.
No, I think basically Adi Shankaracharya, as he promoted Advaita philosophy in his preachings, but when he saw one old Brahmin trying to put his stress on pronunciation of the holy name, then Adi Shankaracharya himself realized that more than the pronunciation part of the mantra or whatever, taking the name of Govinda is the ultimate realization should be the ultimate goal of our life. So I think that is where Adi Shankaracharya, I don't know, maybe I think indirectly he also realizes that the ultimate power is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. Yeah. But then there is also, I mean, I have to refer back to what Hariparshad Prabhu said about it, because usually we see that Bhajagovindam is said in the last stage, then is it kind of a conclusion of everything? Finally, Shankaracharya has postulated Vaishnavism. No, there is also, I mean, Hariparshad Prabhu said can be but need not be. There is also some references through which it is said. And we also see that in Shankaracharya's teachings, there is also a position for Narsingadev. They also worship Narsimhadev, but they do not see him as a supreme. Yeah. The other day I was listening to some where he was saying Vaishnavas see that Shiva is Vishnu's bhakta and Shaivites see um, Vishnu is Lord Shiva's bhakta. So that is always there. So because we are seeing as Nrsingadev in the Vishnu Tattva, that's why we see supreme. But if Adi Shankaracharya followers are worshipping Narsimhadev, they are not worshipping Narsimha as a supreme. Yeah, they still see subordinate to the Lord as only one incarnation of the Lord. And ultimately they see that if you read Shiva Puran, then we will see a lot of references where they see that okay, all these Vishnu are still under the subordinates of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva. Yeah. I don't know if I made it more complex, but this is
I
what.
think yes, Prabhuji. I think one more thing is, I think Adi Shankaracharya, I think he also compiled Jagannath Ashtakam. So in the Jagannath Ashtakam first verse also, Adi Shankaracharya clearly writes that all the demigods like Shiva, Ganesh, Brahma, they all bow down to Jagannath, offering obeisances. So in a way, I mean, maybe that's his ultimate offering to Jagannath.
Yeah, I mean, I would see that one who is such a high saintly person and guru, right? So he would see things as is, but it is only for people understanding what can they digest. Accordingly, that will be postulated.
Exactly, Prabhuji.
So that's what is happens. Yeah, for example, what was that Jain? There was a Jain. Um, what is this Simha? No, Amoga Simha. No, I forgot the name. He wrote a lot of books about why we should not believe Sanatan Dharma. and of course he was defeated by Adi Shankaracharya. But yeah, so these situations come, and then where people, they have certain faith, and then they want to also, they are also blessed with some power so that they can prove what they want to prove. But then there will be someone who will come and kind of correct it. Okay, whatever you have told is okay, but this is the fact. Yeah, then whatever learnings that a person has made, yeah, then this will become okay. I only have to correct the vision, then everything whatever I have understood is almost there. Yeah, Satish Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a similar doubt when I was doing the slides for Keshav Maharaj on the four,
Brothers.
Yes, Prabhuji. So I have a limited knowledge of the internet, but basically what the internet wisdom told was when Adi Shankaracharya incarnated, Hinduism, or I don't know what we say, okay, Sanatana Dharma was going on a decline because Jainism and Buddhism was on the coming up, and also people who worshipped our gods were also offering meat. No proper agama followed, nothing. So Shankaracharya had two objectives. One is to profess the Advaita Tattva while uniting everybody. So at that point of time, if he says God is formless, etc., it will not work. So he kind of embraced everybody, and he was the first Adi Guru. Okay, Adi Guru is Lord Krishna, but he's like in the human form. He came and united. And
Yeah, he is also one of the Jagat Gurus. Right?
Jagat Guru, yes, he's called Jagat Guru Adi Shankara. Yes, Prabhuji.
They called even Shankara Bhagavat Pada.
Bhagavad Pada, yes, Prabhuji.
So the one who on his head, Lord Shiva's feet is there. That's why he's called Shankara Bhagavat Pada.
Yes.
So anyway, so I don't know if that is the main topic of our session, but yeah. Adirasa Prabhu. I don't know if he's there. Any other questions, or anyone want to share what you liked in today's session? Maybe Pragati Mataji. Yeah, very welcome. Thanks for joining. I don't know, how did you enjoy hearing? Maybe I was too quick.
It was good. It was good. I liked it. And maybe in between I joined. It's in between, so it was bit for me. It was bit difficult to understand and go, but yeah, I tried to catch up. Maybe from next time I will be more into the flow.
Yeah. I mean, in Prabhupāda-līlāmṛta is always nice, where anyone can join, and of course this session, it is always like every day, like a diary, right? So we
Yes.
need to know what happened in the past, then we know. But again, there will be so many incidents that happen which have a fresh start today. So after you join 3-4 sessions, then you get kind of, okay, what is happening in the life of Prabhupada, and what happened, what is going to happen. So that kinds of catches you to the script that's happening.
Yes, Prabhuji, exactly.
Yeah, nice. Okay, then thank you so much for joining, and let's meet tomorrow. Panchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, His Holiness Satsvarupa Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.